In this video, I'm going to talk about my first half marathon, which I just ran on Sunday, 2 days ago. It was a really cool experience, and there was a ton of mind games I played that I think are worth documenting and worth thinking out, because it was a weird race in terms of how I went into it mentally. So I signed up for this really last minute. For context, I was training really hard for my second marathon in February, but then sprained my ankle and couldn't do it. I was out of running basically for almost a month, really like 3.5 weeks. And then about 2 weeks ago, got an opportunity to run the New York City Half Marathon, which was on March 17th on Sunday, which is just an unbelievable course that I never even really knew about. It's an unbelievable course where I'll throw up a map, but you basically run from Brooklyn across the Manhattan Bridge, like literally on the road. They shut down the whole bridge. And then you're running on FDR Drive up the east side of Manhattan. They closed down that whole road too. Then you run through the city, through the middle of Times Square, which is insane. There's only 2 times a year they close Times Square down, one for New Year's Eve and one for this race. And then you finish in Central Park, and it's just 13.1 miles of insane views and insane energy. Yeah, it was a really cool race. And like I said, I was hurt, so I was not super fit, but I signed up for it anyway because I was like, you know what, why not? Go rip something, go have fun. That's how I went into it. And luckily my ankle has gotten back to really 100% over the last like 2 weeks. There's no more pain, but I'm definitely not as fit as I was when I was at that peak marathon prep. I'm also way heavier. Like, I don't know what happened, but last week I think because I was starting to run again and put on more miles, and I was getting really hungry from some of those big sessions, I just did not control what I ate well enough. And I woke up on the morning of the half marathon weighing, I think, 211 pounds or 213 pounds at some point like that weekend, which is so fucking heavy because about a month ago I was under 200. That's like a 10-pound difference carrying, which when you're running the paces I was trying to run, which was like 6:26 average pace was my average pace for the half marathon. A lot of those miles were a lot faster than that. My first mile was slow. It kind of messed up my average. But I'll show you the paces there. When trying to do those paces at a heavier weight, you totally feel the difference. And so going into the race, like, my head was not in a good spot. I just felt big. Felt like I wasn't sure I could even do that pace. My goal was under sub 125, which I hit by like 40 seconds. I think my official time was 1:24:20. I hit it, which is great because I really was not confident I was going to be able to. My best training run in the marathon prep was 20 miles at a 6:30 pace. There was like some quick bathroom breaks in there, so it wasn't a consistent 6:30, but I still did the miles at that pace. So, this isn't that insane of a result based off like that, but considering like I said, wasn't really running, was hurt, and considering I was a lot heavier, it's pretty good result. And if you look at like my heart rate was super fucking high the whole time, over 170 for almost the whole race. And I am so sore, like yesterday and today, 2 days after the race, where I almost never get sore, which means I was really fucking pushing it. I mean, if you look at these paces are pretty good. I ripped a lot under 620, 607, 605, 607 miles. That is fast at 211. I don't like, it feels like moving like a ton of bricks when I weigh that much. I don't know. It seems to really affect me, maybe more mentally than anything. And so anyway, I woke up the morning of the race, did not feel good, which isn't a good feeling, but got up at 4:30, headed to the start line. The morning of, I had a piece of bread with peanut butter. I had orange juice. I had some mangoes. And I think that's about it. I might have had like one other bar, but I really like having like orange juice, or I think it was like an orange tangerine juice, as long as there's like no fiber in it. That's the number one rule. Fiber will fuck you up, so do not have fiber. I was drinking water, electrolytes. I think I had like 3 electrolyte packets that morning. And then I headed to the race. Then I got to the start line. And like I said, I was pretty nervous. It's such a different experience to run a big half marathon versus my first marathon. There was only like 800 runners in the whole thing, versus this one, there was literally 28,000 half marathon runners, which is crazy. I was in a faster area, so there's less people, I think. It was packed. And the first mile I did a 6:52 pace, which in big reason is because I just couldn't get around people. I wasn't used to weaving in and out. But maybe that slow mile helped me warm up. I don't know. Regardless, I got really lucky in that right as I was starting, I ran into my friend Trevor, who was going for basically the same time. And so it was cool to just have a guy who I was basically sticking with for the start of the race at least. And we ended up running, I think, the first 5 or 6 miles together, probably the first 5 miles. Because, I think when I started getting down to like 6:07 is when I cut away from him a little bit. But dude, that was awesome. He's a legend, because I was kind of like, I was pacing him. He was pacing me for a section. I went a little faster on the bridge. And then, but yeah, basically the race started and I felt pretty good. I was, like I said, I was doing like 620s, a little under when we were going on downhills. The race has a lot of these rolling uphills and then downhills. So it's like decent uphill for maybe a mile or half mile and then downhill for a while. And it was just about riding those and not going too hard up. The biggest hill I think is the Manhattan Bridge when you're leading up to it. And dude, that up and down just smoked my legs to the point where when I got off that, it was like mile 5. So we still have a lot of the race left, still have 8 miles left. I thought I was done. I thought I was completely torched and my legs were just fucking on fire. And this is where the mind games start, right? Because you still have the majority of the race left. You're trying to go fast as fuck and you feel like you're done. But you know in the back of your head, because I've ran, like I said, I've only ran 2 races, but I've done dozens of really hard training sessions, which I treat mentally like races. I know that pain can go away. You have to believe that pain can be temporary, even though it feels so everlasting. It feels like it's not going to disappear. That's what I did. I just tried to run really hard. And then eventually, we had a nice long stretch of flat on the FDR drive. And the energy just got to me. The ecstasy and the speed just took me over and I just started to rip. Hit some good downhills. You could see I did a 607 where we had like a minus 115 downhill. I don't remember where exactly that was. I think it was just FDR drive somewhere. That was really good for me. I got some speed back. What was really fun was I started, I guess, a little behind where I should have maybe because I was just passing everybody, which was perfect. And like, it's such a good feeling to be going by people versus people going by you. It's just fun. It feels like you're taking people's heads off. It's I like the competitiveness of it. One thing I messed up is I took way too many gels. So even though I felt like I needed it, I took like 4 gels throughout the race and 1 at the start line, which I probably only needed like 2 throughout the race for a half marathon. But I don't know. That's more like marathon numbers, taking 5 gels. But I did it anyway. My coach, Jonas, said it was probably not smart because they kind of just sit in you and you're not really going to feel the effects. It's going to only be negative, but I did it anyway. I felt pretty good going into like mile 8 or 9. And then the dark place started to hit me where I just felt like I was holding on. And like a half marathon is a weird distance where I wasn't really used to like how to pace myself. It was kind of just like go and keep in mind that you have 13 miles. I think in my brain, I was like kind of running a marathon almost because then at the end, I'm like, all right, I really need to push. But that mile 9, 10 hit almost a little bit of like I wouldn't call it a wall, but it was like I was struggling to move. I was like, I don't even remember. It was just like when I was at mile 8 or 9, I was just like, get to the next mile, get to the next mile, get to the next mile. When you're at mile 8, you get to 9 and you only have 4 left. When you're at mile 9, you get to mile 10 and you only have 3 left. I think that helped me when I got to the later miles. And earlier on, I was thinking more of like time. That was the mind game I was playing was time so I was at mile 5, I guess. It's like 35 minutes into it. And I'm like, all right, I only have like under an hour or like, it was probably like 40 minutes left of running. I'm like, this is nothing. I could do this. 40 minutes of running isn't that bad. So it's like, I almost started off with like time as like the perception of difficulty and then switched to distance where I was like, okay, 3 miles left. It's time to rip. As I was going to Times Square, my body just felt so torched. I think that was like the 624 mile or 620. Yeah, that was like the 624 mile. My body just did not feel good. And then basically the last mile I believe is through Times Square and into Central Park. Might be the last 2 miles. And I felt so good in Times Square. I saw my parents. You're surrounded in the most insane place in the world to run, right? Literally through Times Square. And I was like running alone. There was no one around me. It was so cool. But then my body just fucking felt it. I took some gels, which were caffeinated, which was a huge mistake because I know that my body is super sensitive to caffeine. Probably because I take too much of it throughout the day. But I took those gels and my heart rate just started to go fucking crazy. Where when my heart rate gets like that, and it gets like that sometimes, I just can't run. Like it like takes me out almost. And I didn't walk, but I literally slowed down for a second because in my brain, it helps my heart rate a little bit. And so that was really hard to push through because I felt like I had more energy in my legs to go. And I know I did, but I just, my body wasn't letting me for whatever reason. And so I was just holding on for the last like mile, trying to keep up the pace. And I hit a nice last mile, 607. And then you see the last 0.3, 618. Usually I finish races or workouts really quickly, but I was trucking. I was just, I'll put a video of me finishing. I was just pure dark place, just trying to get through the finish line. Just couldn't go faster. And I'm proud of myself. I think I pushed myself. I am sore as hell today and yesterday. And I don't get sore that often. That means I was really going for it. And so, to run this pace after being hurt and feeling like heavy, I think is pretty good. My weight's already coming down. Like my weight is super weird. My weight goes up and down so quickly based on like if I'm overeating or dieting, which I guess is normal sort of, but I don't know. I feel like it's so fast. So the goal is to try to come in and weigh like 195 pounds for my marathon next month in Eugene, 428. So now I'm trying to like just stop being an idiot and eat good. I read this really good Twitter thread. I'll link it in the bio, just about fasting and eating and how, we're just pleasure monkeys and you're not eating because you're hungry, you're eating because you're bored. And I definitely tend to do that. I'm the type of person I need like a fun, fizzy drink with me all the time, which is like me being a fucking baby. Like I don't need to do that. And so I'm going to try to just romanticize just drinking water and like sparkling water and maybe some water with salt like a few times a day because I really want to get lean so I can go faster. That is what I want. I just want to go faster. And yeah, this was a nice little breakdown. There's something about racing that is so fun. And now I'm really excited about running again. Like I was excited the whole time, but even when I was hurt, I was excited about it. But there's like, you get hurt and then it's like, what am I doing this for? Why am I going to go jump back in a prep? But then you remember why, because it just feels so fucking good to get after it. And even like today, I was so excited to just go out for an easy run training. And I think that means, the obsession is real when you lose it and you just want it to come back. Yeah, I'm going to document more as I train for this Eugene race. I don't know what my goal is right now. I have to get back to training. My original goal for Austin was a sub 250. And so, that's kind of like the minimum goal, I think. Maybe we go even a little further under 245. We'll see. Sub 250 is a 629 pace, I think. Let me see. Sub 250 is a 629 pace. Sub 245 is like a 617 pace. That would be kind of insane if I could do that. Probably can't. I'm excited to train again, get the fuck after it. And yeah, running is incredible. Running has completely changed my life. And I'm going to do everything I can to stay healthy so that I can keep going and run for years and decades to come really hard. And it's exciting to think how early I am in the journey. Like when I look at people who've put up 1,000-mile, 2,000-3,000 mile years, like the amount of progress I can make if I do that. And I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to go and put in, 60, 70, 80 plus 100-mile weeks. 100 miles is a lot, but I'm ready. And yeah, one more thing I didn't really talk about in this video, like the mental stuff I did to get through the pain in this race, because I was definitely in the dark place for most of it. So I wrote them down on Instagram. I'm going to run through them here quickly as well. One thing I do, which is kind of crazy, it's not really normal, is I close my eyes for like the really hard miles. Like I literally slit my eyes like this, where I can only see a little bit in front of me and I could see like my feet. Just let myself turn off the entire world. It's a really weird thing, but it helps me just turn off and like turn my brain completely off so I can just get through the run. You have to really recognize that you're going to be in the moment of finishing and all the pain is going to disappear. And so you only have this brief time to literally rip your body apart and like push yourself to the limit. And recognizing that you're going to be in that moment of relief, that is coming 100%, whether it's at the finish line or whether you give up and fall on the side of the road. It makes it easier where you're mentally telling yourself this is temporary. Then the other thing is like thinking of your body just as a machine and like thinking of your legs as these mechanical pistons that are just bringing you along the course. That is like a frame of mind that I like to think in, where it's I literally just imagine my legs doing all the work. And yeah, you need to move your upper body too, but it's like your legs are doing a lot of it when you run. That helps me for some reason, just like trusting my legs and trusting the work I put in to literally carry me, like carry my upper body like a passenger. It's a weird way to think about it, but it helps me for some reason. But then the real thing that matters, and this is from what my friend Johnny Pace always tells me, is just to, get in a rhythm and don't look at your watch too much. Don't look at miles. I'm still very much a slave to the watch, always checking it. But I think part of that is just not knowing like what paces feel like. Like I'm not that experienced to like, oh, this is a 620, this is a 610. Like my body just doesn't have the experience yet. But the other side of it is just like overanalyzing and not trusting myself to get in a rhythm and relax and not look at miles and just get into the flow of running. And that's when I think you really can run well, is when you get into those moments of true flow and you don't think about anything except moving. That's it. That's the video. Talk to you later.